Working on a 2014 Mitsubishi Outlander GT all-wheel drive with the 3.0 V6. So it's got a rough running condition, codes that came up. Basically for the catalytic converter and cylinder 3 misfire. Now this also had a lot of smoke coming out the back just after it got warmed up. So pulled off the intake. I left the throttle body attached so I didn't have to drop any coolant. And what I'm going to do is some compression tests. But first things first, when I pulled all the ignition coils and spark plugs. So this is cylinder 3. So we've got some sort of a lack of combustion and or excessive oil leaking going on. And then this is brand new. Somebody had already installed it, I guess, to try to fix the cylinder 3 misfire, because that was back in cylinder 3. Let me show the other ones. So all the other spark plugs, they basically look pretty normal for the age, but you know, there's some wear, but nothing like what there was. And these are all they've basically been there for a little while. You can tell just from the difference of the new one. So let's verify right bank, left bank cylinders where they belong. So here's the front of the engine where the crankshaft goes. So the left bank is this side right here, and the right bank is by the firewall back there. So the notes on here, you got your 3.0. Cylinders 1, 3, and 5 are the right bank. So the right bank by the firewall, cylinders 1, 3, and 5. Which means 2, 4, and 6 are up here on the left bank. Alright, so to set up the compression test, I've got my compression tester that I've had for, I don't know, 25 years. I do have to have this reducer, or this adapter set to go on the end of it. The threads of these spark plugs are smaller than standard size. So this is a 12mm wrench, and that's what fits on there. Standard size spark plug, this is a 14mm, goes here, fits on there. So got to have the 12mm reducer adapter to fit into the spark plug hole. So the range we're looking for, 239 psi. The minimum is 167 psi with a range limit of 15 psi. So between all 6 cylinders, we shouldn't have more than a 15 psi variance. So that's what we're going to look for. Okay, so cylinder 1 is set up. I'm just going to crank it over a few times and see what it comes out to. It's 220, 225, something like that. Alright, now we're in cylinder 3. What is that? 220, 30, 235. Alright, now it's aimed on cylinder 5. Let's see what it gets. $220, $225, something like that. I'll look at the tape and see if it went higher than that. Alright, so now I'm set up on cylinder 2. $230, right about. Alright, set up on cylinder 4. 225, 230 maybe it went to. Alright, set up on cylinder 6 to the last one. Uh, 230 again. Okay, so I'll have to go back and review the video on cylinder 3. I don't remember if it got up to 250 or stay at 240, but it was at least 235, if not higher. So I'm going to go back and double check that. But everything, I mean, 239 is standard value, minimum is 167, difference of 15 psi. So we're really doing good unless something weird's happening here, but cylinder 3 would have more compression, and cylinder 3 is the one with the misfire. So does that lead us down a path that the exhaust valves potentially are caked up with things that we can't see? Because I can see down the port to the intake valves, and they are squeaky clean down there. I'm trying to get you a better shot. And when the motor's moving, those things are moving up and down, looking like they're closing at least. So next step is going to be a leak down test per cylinder and get those values. Alright, so I'm working on the leak down test, and I'm going to show you the firing order here. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I am just now at top dead center on cylinder 5 back there. So I wanted to show you the process of finding top dead center on the next cylinder. A couple different ways to do it. This one's kind of easy. So we've got our leak down hose, and since the firing order is 1 through 6, I went from 5, I'm going into 6, and this is a different hose. This one does not have a Schrader valve in it like the compression test does, but it still has the reducer on it. So I'm going to screw it down into cylinder 6. And then a couple different ways you can do it. You can put your thumb over it and test for pressure. You can also just put a balloon on it, and then once you see it start to inflate, then you know that you're on a compression stroke. So I'm just going to go ahead and crank the motor by hand over here with my ratchet, and this should start to inflate when I crank it. Yeah, so don't go too far, because now that we know that we're compressing on that cylinder, we want to look for it coming up to the top. So for that, since we have the tiny holes, use whatever you want, but I'm using a double 1/4 inch drive extension. And be careful with this, because the piston comes up kind of at an angle where it sits, and you don't want this to get caught in it. So I'm just going to keep cranking this crank bolt over, and I felt it start to get caught right there, so I'm going to try to hold it kind of towards me. Keep it loose. Watch it come up until it stops. Go a little bit at a time. Okay, and that's done coming up. You don't want to go too far one way or the other, because then you start to open the valves up. So then you take your compression test fitting, put it back in the spark plug hole, and it doesn't have to be super tight, you just want it to be snug in there. And then we're going to take and connect it to our leak down tester that's hooked up to shop air. And I think that kicked over the crank. Yeah, so I may have gone just a tad too far, and when I hooked shop air up to it, it kicked over the, I'll show you. So I've got my 1/2 inch drive ratchet connected to it. I think it's a 22 mil on the crank, and when that shop air pressed down, since this was slightly just off, it actually kicked the crank and turned it, and it flew up that way. So now I'm going to go back. So now we should be on cylinder 1, top dead center, compression stroke. So we'll start there. Alright, so I'm in cylinder 1, I got my balloon. Just going to turn the crank Okay, so yeah, we've got pressure building. Take this back out. Put my extension. And again, be careful not to let it get locked into place. Crank it a little bit, keeping it from getting caught. Come up to where it just stops. Okay, so I'll take my ratchet off just to make sure it doesn't flip out. Leak down tester goes in. Alright, and then look at the shop air, make sure it's zeroed out. So what we're looking to find out is, where's the leak coming from? I mean, it's still in the green, but it's on the high side. And I can tell you, right here, you hear that? The intake valves are leaking. And then, you can hear that. And then right here through the oil filters a little bit, blow by past the rings. Alright, so I'm on cylinder number 2, it's already top dead center. Got my hose, let's just look at the results. So right about 30%. And again, I am just feeling the air and hearing it through the intake. Okay. Alright, so now I'm back in cylinder 3, which is our misfire cylinder. Not as much on the intake. Definitely you've got some down here. Through the crankcase. That sucks, that'd be some rings. Alright, so 40%. Alright, now we're up to 4. That thing is moving. I fill up the intake. Right here. Can't see that, I guess, right through here. Nothing at the crankcase, really. On cylinder 5, 30%. Again, intake a little through the crankcase, but not much. Alright, we're in cylinder 6. Let's get it hooked up. Mostly from the intake. Some from the crankcase, but that's expected. So damn, that's at 50%. Alright, so leak down. Intake valves, the oil cap, which would be past the rings, intake valve, intake valve, intake valve. This is also the one that had excess oil on the spark plug. So it would seem, unfortunately for me, that this needs piston rings. Hey, side note, if you guys haven't used these, I use them basically every time I work on a car. It's got all these different light functions. I'll leave a link in the description, but it's pretty badass. A 2-pack just works several hours and then have the other one charged, ready to go. So just side note, that thing is awesome. For being a cheap Amazon piece of crap like most things are. This is actually pretty solid. So anyway, finishing thoughts on this is what we know now. We've got great compression, but we've got leakage and oil seepage. So heads have to come off. The engine may have to be pulled. I don't know if we can do a piston job with the block still in. I got to research that, but I will follow up with what I find out. Thanks. Alright, so got the heads off, got some digging done. Let me show you what all I found. So this is the right bank, cylinders 1, 3, and 5. Cylinder 3 here, you can tell it was completely wet, and I can't really tell if there's chunks missing or if it's just got so much carbon buildup on it. But you can also see signs of head gasket leak with the coolant. And then here is the upstream O2 sensor, completely covered in goo. And here's the downstream. And here's the head gasket, nothing real special to see on that. Here's the exhaust. And the catalytic converter material is completely gone. Let's see. Can you see light through there? Well, that's the floor. Anyway, it's all gone. It was in the downpipe. Alright, so coming back, this is cylinder 3. Let's see. Watch. Yeah, that's not supposed to do that. Should be solid, you know. So anyway, that was the end result of what the hell was happening with this car. So it's getting a whole new rebuild, valve job. Gonna pull the piston and check it out and get new rings and seals, whatever it needs on it. Timing job. We'll see if I post anything else, maybe a finished video of it running, but this was diagnosis, the problem, the physical evidence of what happened. So, well, maybe it helped you out. Thanks.